nowadays with all the social media, the fitness influencing type stuff, you get a lot of people using like performance enhancing drugs and stuff, and that almost seems to be the norm. You got guys that are like, oh, as soon as they turn 20 or they're 19 and they're shooting up shit or they're doing something, whatever. But and if I misquote you here, um, correct me. I'm going off memory. I'm going off of messages back in the archives here. But I think you made the comment something about being clean and kind of like being against steroids. And you said, yeah, you know why I've never used steroids or I've never done that? It's because I have self-esteem. I think
For
that was
real.
like well, that was a message that you sent to me, and I
It,
that one stood out to me, and I kind of laughed about it. But at the same time, it's like because it was such a good like the way it was delivered was just delivered perfect. But it also is like funny at the same time as being true. But yeah, you basically said, yeah, you know, I don't use steroids because I have a thing called self-esteem. Do you have a take on that, or maybe some of the stuff we're seeing in the sport
so
with?
the gym that I lifted at for 6 years when we lived in Fort Worth, I remember there was a young kid that his dad started bringing him in when he was probably 14. And it seemed like a year goes by, and this kid's back squatting 365 for sets of 10, and he's put on 85 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to talk and we get to be friends, and his dad's giving him D-ball because he wants him to be on the varsity football team. What a like, you're trying to build a champion athlete, which really should be starting with things like mindset, dedication, sacrifice, and instead you just put him on the fast track plan. And what health problems we have later, I don't know, but he got to play high school football in Texas, so that was a win. I mean, that shit to me,
Yeah.
I probably know, I bet I personally know probably 100 different people that use steroids. I haven't met one of them that can justify it in any way that makes sense unless you put their ego in front of it. You know
Okay.
what I mean? Why are
Yeah.
you taking steroids? So you can win an arm wrestling tournament. Okay. Well, what'd you get from that? You know what I mean? Hey, well, here's the first question. Was everybody there doing the same drugs? No, no, of course not. So what's that? You just, different people have different opinions, but at the end of the day, the thing is this. If they had more self-esteem, they wouldn't need that shit. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And especially now, I could say, ask the number of people who will tell you about the number of times they've always offered to get me any drug I'd ever want, and I tell them I'm good. They'll tell you, dude, I'm not about that shit. I'm not going to lecture somebody else, but I will tell you, I've not met one person yet that was actively using gear that I could tell you, like, dude, they are a strong mentality person. They got their shit together. No, they don't. It's just that's it. So for the people that are using them, the justifications of why they're using them and how they're using them, and especially some of the irresponsible shit that comes with it, and the consequences that can come with it, and in all arenas, um, I'm not about it. I think that the social media pressure now on the younger guys has really put, they have a huge incentive in front of them at this point because they're all trying to get monetized. They all think that
Yeah.
they want to be a fucking influencer.
And
So
pull
for
900 pounds and be 18 years old and pull
that,
900 pounds or some crazy
and
shit. And it's
and
like, yeah.
the thing is they're completely ignoring the people that have already done that and had their go at it. Like one of the guys has been probably the most vocal and telling the truth, not always at the right time, but over time, has been Larry Wheels. And to hear Larry talk about how miserable it has been on him, and I'm sure he's still doing shit, but he's a guy who went all the way out and then started to back down. And the thing is my prediction is what you'll see from him in 10 more years would be him coming off all the shit and then advising people to not even do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's a consistent thing. I know that in the last 4 years, we've lost a lot of people where the irony is they were the fittest person that somebody else knew, and they died in their 40s
Yeah.
of complications that can most likely be pinned to various steroid abuse. The way these guys get their drugs is in itself absolutely insane. You're buying bottles of shit coming in from Mexico. You can't read what's on the label, and even then, that would be presuming that what's on the label is what's in, like, dude,
Yeah. I mean, you might as well be buying heroin or fentanyl or what I mean, you might as well be just gambling almost to the same extent as a drug. I mean,
And
whatever.
that's the thing,
Yeah.
is if you look at someone and you were to, well, oh, heroin users have a problem because using heroin. Okay, I agree with that. My
Yeah.
thing is though is, would you agree that they wouldn't need to do it if they had more self-esteem? And a lot of people I've heard said, yeah, well, they probably would be true. It's like, dude, it's the same with this shit. Um, some of the guys have really gone hard on the um, let everyone do what they want to do kind of thing. And I got to tell you, watching, being somebody who was able to kind of start up into YouTube when YouTube first became a thing, and start onto Facebook when Facebook first became a thing, and start on IG. You know what I mean? I was there in the platform's
Mhm.
beginning, and getting to see, okay, from the story of one, what have I seen it done to landscape? It's done more damage than good if we're going to measure it on the impact of people's lives. There's a whole bunch of people in the world right now. It's almost impossible to get them going in a fitness program, because the only calibration they have is they're looking at someone who's been juicing hard for 5 years. Hey, and don't give me the,
Yeah.
oh, but you got to train. I know you got to fucking train. That's not part of the conversation. The
Yeah.
conversation is the drugs added to it. Um, the the consequence of some of these people using the combinations of shit they're using is currently unpredictable. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
I'll tell you this: I know enough people that have gone through the loop to see what happens when they come on the other end. When they have to come off cycle, they're depressed and miserable. And when they do try to train drug free, they can never stay with it, because it's like if the first car I ever gave you was a Maserati, and then I took it away after 3 years and just made you drive like a fucking piece of shit 1992 Escort with a spare tire donut on the side. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you're never gonna be happy in that car again.
Yeah.
Maybe it gets you to work and you're not bitching about that, but you're just never gonna be happy with it the way you were with that Maserati. And in my opinion, you're in a scene now where you have 17, 18, 19 year olds doing fucking trend. Okay, let's jump forward 10 years. You quit training because you finally met that girl and you got her pregnant and you got three beautiful kids and you got a job and you realize that you need to get back into it, right? You always hear that, I need to get back into it. Bro, how are you ever going to compete with your previous self with the fucking pedestal you put up there? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
and I think that's what kills a lot of guys when they do come off of stuff like that is you almost get hit with that reality, like you said, where it's like, oh, now I have to put in work, or now the work isn't coming as easy, or the reward isn't right there. And and another point to bring up, like I said, I don't want to badger the topic to death, but it's just something that stuck with me, or just being somebody that doesn't fucking take anything either. It's like, yeah, I've seen cats that take shit and basically roll around and they'll come up and like pull my max as a fucking warm up and shit. And I'm just like, well, yeah, I remember you 5 years ago when like you couldn't even fucking bench 135, So it
flip it worse. So I've got a couple of buddies here that they're no longer actively competing in strongmen, but they do still fuck around with it. And they still do a little bit of their shit, but not like they used to. And bro, they're literally they never can have a satisfying session. So go to the gym, go deadlift, 735 for a triple. Everyone in the room has never seen anyone do that in that particular gym. And they're just disgusted of themselves because when they were on trend, they could do 880 for a double. It's
yeah,
like, bro, you're never going to do that again. You're never going to do that again.
yeah.
And is that going to be like, for me now at 40, there are very few lifts in the realm of grip that I think I could never best. Like, I'm pretty sure this will be a good little time capsule for us. So, my prediction is for me at 40 today, when I'm 44, everything I've ever done in the realm of grip, not the athletics part. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do some of the gymnastics I've done when I was like 30, but at 44, my prediction, I will have broken every lift that I've ever done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My axe will be more, my sacks will be more, all my lifts will be more. At 40, I can tell you, I doubt I could do an obstacle course the way I could do when I was 24.
Yeah.
When that's what I got paid to do, right? But at the same time, I can look at the rest of my life and be excited for the next session because it's always just been me. And for us, we're at the advantage of for our sport, it doesn't matter what you look like, and tendons tend to keep getting better over time. Versus if the only game was keep muscle, you becoming you're losing muscle at a certain age, right? Odhagen has proven that you don't really lose that much tendon strength. Motherfuckers in his 70s still lifting. So that allows me to engage it enthusiastically. The ones I know that got into the shit, especially got into it in their early 20s and whatever, bro, they're never gonna be happy again. They're never gonna be satisfied again. The last big arm wrestling practice I was at, there were 3 different guys I pulled on the table. And when they asked how long I had been competing and how strong I felt on the table, they had asked no questions about who I was or what I've done, especially the ones who pulled me left hand. If you didn't know me and you grabbed me left-handed, and then I told you I've only been doing this for a year, and you made it the decision that equals that you're a pussy, you really just fucked up. It's like, yeah, there's not a lot of people who's left-handed ever feel like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They all immediately told me how their next plan is they're going to call this guy and get this pill and this shot, and what am I taking? It's like, I don't do none of that. I don't do none of that. I don't even follow a good diet, and I drink like every day. You know what I'm saying? Like your solution to beat me will not work over time because in 10 years from now, I'll still be training and you will have gone high up in the air and burst and fell to the ground and you're burnt to shreds. There's not a lot of juiced lifters that get to lift for life. There's just not.
Well,
It's
and
an
another
example.
yeah, and another point that like goes with that is like you mentioned it slightly was where, you know, somebody might just to try to justify taking something and then they kind of hit with like, oh, but you still got to do the training. And it's like, well,
Of course, you
motherfucker, like the other people are doing the training too. Like that's why like when someone like you or someone that is at a world class that is clean, it's like that's why it carries so much weight when someone like you takes that stance or has that opinion because it's like, yeah, this is a guy that has dedicated his entire fucking life to his craft or his training and done like essentially for body weight. I mean, the feats we named, some of the highest level stuff. I mean, some of the best plate curls we've ever seen, the 200-pound fucking inch dumbbell type lifts, clean axle lifts, you know, whatever. So it's like the people's defense that like, oh, well, you still got to do the training. It's like, that's not really the fucking argument because you might have somebody else that's clean that's fucking out training you already and you're just taking shortcuts. I mean, it's different if it's somebody that's like they're a slouch and they don't train and they have no idea what's going on and they're just talking shit. But when it comes from a valid source that's like doing the same training or even greater training than you are, and you're trying to justify your use, I just feel like it's a losing battle every time for these guys.
and you know, to really encapsulate that part too, to back up, let me get through a couple of the comment statements. Well, everyone else is doing it. No, they're not. No, they're not. That's what every person who's currently using steroids is telling themselves is that everyone else is doing and they need to keep a competitive advantage. That shit is not true. Number 2, it only helps a little bit. Okay, if that's true, then why are you doing it? If it's only a little the flip end of that is people who believe that now that they've finally gotten their hands on it shit, that it's going to turn around and make them win big events. I'll tell you now, I have beaten just as many enhanced athletes as I have drug-free ones. Like, you're not automatically going to win that day just because you're on it. I have beaten people arm wrestling and they were using steroids. I've beaten people in jiu-jitsu tournaments who are using steroids. I've beaten people in grip sport, arm lifting, all the shit you want to call it. Because you know, just like you got to do the work, we also need to know how to play the game. At the end of the day, the biggest X factor is when I am in competition of someone who's in that state and they're doing that shit, is there's a part of me that just was somehow able to stand without needing it, and there's a part of them that wasn't strong like that.